Hey guys, so in today's video I wanted to show you how I crocheted this little romper. This pattern was freehand and it was my first time making it and I just love the way it turned out. So I wanted to show you guys, my process through this. So for freehand projects, I just wanted, for this one specifically, I wanted you to be able to customize this. So the way that I'm teaching it is not, I can't tell you an exact number to, chain or how many rows to make because I don't have a reference point of, the size of a newborn or a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old. So basically this project is for you to be able to just, measure to your own child and then go from there. Of course, I will tell you how much I chained and how many rows I made, but I haven't put this on an actual baby because I don't have kids. I don't have kids around me. But, I just got into this weird mood where I was like, you know what? I want to make baby clothes. They look so adorable. And this is what I came up with. Isn't it so adorable? So for the back side, I just wanted to mention that you will be able to see a seam, and that's because I did a chain 1. I'm not sure if you can really tell, but I can tell in person. And that's because I did a chain 1 to do my beginning of my rows, and that's because I did half double crochet. So that's the reason you can see the seam here. And then for the top part, you can, take this off and, make it tighter. The only things you can't really adjust or move are these buttons right here because I sewed this on. That's just how I did it. I'm not sure if you want it to be removable or not, but I just didn't do it that way because it would be too much work for me. If you don't want this top part right here, you don't have to do that because, you can just have it as shorts and that looks cute as well. But basically, I use two-colored yarn. I use 2 different colors of yarn. You can see the pink is a little bit different, and that's mainly because I just ran out of yarn. You can use one solid color if you like. And then I used a crochet hook in the size 4.5 millimeters. I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, it's 4.5 millimeters. You need some scissors, a stitch marker, and I believe that is it. Before we get started, I did want to mention that I am using the Caron's 1-pound yarn, and the first thing we're going to do is create a slip knot. So to create a slip knot, I'm just going to, sorry, let me adjust this really quick. We're going to just take our yarn like this, twist it, and then I'm going to grab my yarn and just pull it through the circle. So now I'm just going to insert my hook and then just tighten this up. And right now we're going to create a chain. So for a chain, you're going to just yarn over your hook and then pull through. So I'm going to do a chain of 7, and our chain is for the length of the romper, the top part of the romper. So this right here. So that's what I'm creating. It depends on how thick you want it. I feel like this is a pretty good size, in general. So if you want to create a chain of 7, this is how long it'll be. About like a little bit over an inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and chain my 7. Once you finish your chain, you want to single crochet into the second stitch from the hook. So this is the first one, this is your second. A single crochet is inserting your hook through the stitch, pulling some of that yarn through. You want to yarn over and pull through both loops. So now you're just going to single crochet all the way until you reach the end. Now that I reached the end of my side, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and then I'm going to be single crocheting into the back loops only. So you can see this stitch right here. You're not working into that, you're going into that second one. So I'm going into the back stitch because I wanted to do the ribbing. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into the back loop and single crochet. So if you don't want to do a ribbing, that's fine. You can just single crochet into both loops. But again, I'm going into the back loops only. And I'm single crocheting all the way until I reach the end. So I did an extra row off of camera, but that is basically all you're going to be doing for the entire width of this romper. You just chain 1, turn your work, and you single crochet into the back loops only. So basically just do that process all the way until you reach your desired size for your romper. For my specific size, I did do a row of 60. So again, sorry that I can't give you an exact number you need, but again, that is probably more to the benefit because you can make any size you like. And this size is, I would say, for about a newborn, maybe, or a little bit older than a newborn. So once you finish your desired length of the waist part of your romper, you want to just fix up these edges right here. So you want to have just a little bit of a cleaner look. And what we're going to do is chain 1, and then you're going to just single crochet all the way until you reach the other side. So that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to be back after I finish single crocheting all the way to the top of the other side of the romper. Once you finish single crocheting the top portion, it looks a little bit cleaner, as you can see, and this is the bottom, which we haven't dealt with yet. But before we do that, we just want to attach our end pieces together to close this romper. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to slip stitch our pieces. So I just folded my piece in half, as you can see, and then now I'm just going to insert my hook through that first stitch on the other side. And then I'm taking some of this yarn through and pulling it through both loops. So I'm going to continue to do that all the way until I reach the other side. So, sorry, let me just straighten this up and pulling through both. So I'm going to continue to do that until I reach the other side, and then we're going to flip the band. Once you finish your slip stitch, this is how the piece looks, and now you want to flip your work because you want this to be the inside of the romper. So basically when I flip, this is what the back piece looks like now. So what you're going to do now is we're going to single crochet the top portion because you can see, you know, it's our jagged edged. Oh my god, jagged edged. I love this music. Okay, anyways, this right here is the back piece. So when I turn my work, this is the front piece of my romper, and I want to add the band, or what do you call this? This part right here, the shoulder straps, I want to add that in while I'm single crocheting my top piece, the border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet until I reach about, let's say right here, because the strap is going to be thick, right? So you're going to have to single crochet back down about 2 or 3 times. So you want to start, you know, right about there. So I would say a little bit less than half of the back portion. So hopefully that makes sense to you, but you know, you're going to add the strap. So let me see if I can make this clear. So this is the back piece, and this is where I started my strap. If what I just explained confused you, you can go ahead and just completely remove the straps. You don't have to do it at all, and you're just going to start single crocheting. So we're just going to single crochet now. And I'm going to single crochet until I reach the part where I want to add the straps. So I'll be back because I take too long single crocheting. Okay, so here's the back piece of my romper, as you can tell, and I just did a single crochet of 7 here, and now I'm going to add my straps. So to add the straps is just going to be a chain, and so for the chain, you're just going to keep chaining until you reach your desired length of your romper top part, your straps. So the way you determine that is once you fold it in half and it reaches to the other side, you'll see how long you want it. So for my piece, I did a chain of 40, and this is how it looks so far. So with our straps, it is a bit forgiving because, you know, of course, yarn, it does stretch, and, you know, when you wash it, it'll go back into its place. But, you know, don't be too worried about, you know, the length of it, because again, it does stretch. So now we're going to make our band thicker, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to single crochet into our piece. So we want to single crochet into the second stitch from the hook, so this one right here, and you're going to single crochet all the way until you reach the bottom, until you're back at the waist part of the romper. Once you've made it back to the waistband area, you're just going to single crochet into your waistband, and then we're going to turn our work And we're going to go back up and single crochet because this right here is a little bit too thin, especially if we're going to be adding a button. So I'll finish that. So I made it back to the top of my romper and we're going to do it again. We're going to this time chain 1 though, and then we're going to turn our work and single crochet all the way until we go back to our waist bottoms. I just made it back to the bottom of my romper and I just wanted to show you how thick it looks now. So what you're going to do with this piece is basically leave it alone until the end because we're not sewing this on to the waist part yet. Well, you can if you want, but I just want to wait till the end. So what I'm going to do now is just start single crocheting on to finish off my waistband basically. I just want to finish the edging and I'm going to single crochet. So basically I'm single crocheting all the way until I reach back to this side so I can do the next strap. Here is how my project is looking right now. I just finished single crocheting all the way until I reach this back piece. So now that we're at the back piece, we're going to be doing that same process for the strap on this side over here. So remember when we first started, I did a single crochet of 6 and then my strap. And then with this strap, I had to use 3 additional spots of the single crochets. So for here, I'm going to start at my 9th single crochet area. So I had to add 3 additional because of course you're not starting from the same position. You're starting from this side now. So hopefully that made sense to you, and or you can just go ahead and, you know, fold it in half and see where you need to start your chain. So what I'm going to do here is basically the same thing. So I'm not really going to show that on camera because it's just the strap and you're just doing a chain. So remember to do the same amount of chains as you did on your last strap. I actually wanted to explain that again because I know I got a comment recently where someone said I'm confusing. So I'm going to try to explain this as best as I can. So this is currently our project. And when I fold it in half, you can see that where this strap ends is where we want our strap to begin on this side because, you know, we're not starting from the same middle point. We started here for this strap and now we're coming to this side. So basically you can just fold it and you match that up and then start your chain from there. I hope that made sense to you guys if you didn't understand what I was trying to explain earlier from on this side. Okay, so I just finished this strap and once I went back down, I just single crocheted along this edge until I reached the middle. Now I'm just going to close this up. So the way that I do that is I'm going to open this loop just a little bit bigger. I already cut off the yarn and I'm just going to insert that through and pull it closed. And then I'm just going to secure it in by attaching it down here just a little bit so I can, you know, not cut it off here and, you know, it's just some weird strap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find any random stitch, if I can, insert the hook through, and then I'm going to take this yarn, pull it through, and basically do the same thing. So I have my loop here, and then I'm just going to insert the yarn through, and now it's secured back here. So you can't keep doing that until you have it as secure as you like, and then just cut off the excess yarn. So now this is what it looks like. I'm gonna cut off that yarn in a bit. So here's my straps. And at this point, I'm going to get my button and I'm just gonna sew it onto here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, so I'm going to assume that most people know how to sew on a button, but you basically just need a threading needle and some thread. And then I'm gonna use this white button here and I'm gonna attach it this way. So I'm going to only do it through the front piece, of course, and then that's the way I'll sew it on. And I'll just go through all the little loops there, the circles, and then I'll be back after I finish that. Inserts the 2 years later SpongeBob meme right now because I don't know how to edit. But basically this took forever and I just finished the buttons and here's how it looks. So adorable. And now we're done with the top portion of our romper. To begin the bottom portion of the romper, I'm going to start off with a different color yarn, and that's only because with this yarn, I'm trying to use up all my little balls of yarn, so that's the reason I have this color. And then now going on to my lighter blue, I'm going to attach this to the back piece. So the way that I attach this is I'm going to go into this stitch right here and and just poke my hook through, and then I'm gonna take my yarn and pull that through, and then I'm just gonna tie it. Sorry if this is not the proper way, but this is how I do it. And then I'm gonna tie it one more time just to be sure. And now I'm going to start working into my piece. So just like that, I'm going to chain. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was doing the half double crochet correct. But to begin, we're just going to chain one. We're going to yarn over our hook and insert your hook through the next stitch. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Yarn over again and pull through the last 2. So I'll show that one more time. You're gonna yarn over your hook, insert your hook through the next stitch. You have 3 loops. You yarn over one more time and pull through the first 2. You have 2 left. You yarn over and pull through the rest. So you want to do that until you reach all the way until your backside. I made it all the way back to where I started, so now I'm just going to slip stitch into, okay, so you're not going to slip stitch into this first one right here, you're going to the second one, and then you just want to insert your hook and just pull through both loops. So at this point, I like to take my stitch marker and insert it into that slip stitch. So to begin our new row, we're just going to chain 1. You're going to be working into that same stitch where you slip stitch, so this one right here. And then I'm just going to do my half double crochet again. So I have my 3 loops, yarn over, pull through the 2, yarn over again, and pull through the last 2. So you're basically going to do that until you reach the desired length you want. So as you can see, it's going to start to curve, and at that point I'll actually come back to show you so we can start decreasing at the end. Okay, so I'm back just to show you how to close the end of the row. So as you can see, we made it back to the stitch marker. I'm just going to remove this, and then once you remove your stitch marker, you see there are now 2 stitches. So you want to be working into that second stitch. You do nothing with where your stitch marker was. So just to make that clear, this is where the stitch marker was. This is the first stitch, the second. So that's where I'm going to slip stitch. And then place my stitch marker back in. And here's how it's looking. So again, when you're, sorry I say again so often, but once you start your new row, always chain 1 and then work into that same stitch. So I just wanted to check in with you guys really quick and show you that this right here is not as curved as my original. So as you can see, this one is a little bit more curved on the side, and that's because this right here is 1 pound yarn, and this, I don't know the brand of it because I just found it in my my yarn stash, and it is lighter in weight. I don't know by how much, but it curves, just is not as much as this one because these are both the same weight. But anyways, it's not too much of a big deal because if I put it right on top, you can see that it's not curved by that much. It's a slight curve. Anyways, next we're going to move on to the decreasing portion. Once you reach your desired length of the shorts, we can now move on to the decreasing portion. And for this, I already went ahead and did the first half double crochets right here. So I did start my row already. And that's because when you decrease, you're not going to decrease by a certain amount of chain this much and then decrease, chain this much and then decrease, because I want you for this project to kind of, not think about it too much. So what I mean by that is, since our project is currently flat, right? We did for the new row, we did a half double crochet all the way to this corner. So this corner piece right here, all you have to do is just decrease. So I'm going to do that right now. So for my half double crochet, this is how I decrease. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook through the stitch. I have 3 loops. I'm going to yarn over one more time, and I'm going to insert my hook through the next stitch. And I have all these loops. So now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of them. Let's see if I can make my way through. Okay, there we go. So now that is a decrease. So I'm gonna start doing my half double crochets just as normal, all the way until I reach this corner, and then I'll decrease there. So I just made it to the other corner, and now I'm going to decrease again. So I just want to show you that one more time. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going into my stitch, pulling that yarn through, and now I have 3 loops. So I'm going to yarn over one more time and then go through my next stitch. Now I have 5 loops, so I'm going to yarn over again and pull through all 5 of the loops. And then I will just make my way all the way to the stitch marker by doing my normal half double crochets. Okay, so now that we did our row of decreasing, we'll move on to the leg portion. So for the leg portion, you can go ahead and count all of these stitches, divide that by 2, and then stop in the middle right there. But I don't feel like counting stitches right now. So what I'm going to do is basically half double crochet all the way around, but I'm going to stop just like in the middle right here. So basically where the stitch marker matches up with the other side. And then we're going to work on this side of the leg first. Okay, so I just removed my stitch marker, but basically I did my half double crochet all the way around on this side of the leg. So now that I got to my halfway point, I'm just going to attach my front piece to the back piece of the romper. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my hook and insert it into that stitch right there. And then I'm just going to pull this yarn through to do a slip stitch. So now I'm going to continue working on this leg portion. So basically I want to chain 1 first. You don't need a stitch marker because you're just going around the leg. And I already know this is my end point. So after you chain 1, you're just going to continue doing the half double crochet. So for this part, I'm going to do my half double crochet into that same stitch where I did my slip stitch. So basically the same process we've been doing for the entire romper. So I'm going to go ahead and I made it back to my starting point. As I mentioned in the previous clip, that you don't have to put a stitch marker because you can clearly see this is where you started. So it's going to be a little bit hard to crochet into this because it's not really like a stitch. Well, it's a stitch, but it just doesn't, it's basically the connecting portion. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, and I'm doing my half double crochet, but I'm just going to do it and go underneath this because it's just a little bit too hard to maneuver my hook into there, and I don't want to struggle. So now, because we didn't do the slip stitching, like it's into this stitch right here, we're going to slip stitch not into this first one, but to this second one right here. So now we can just insert our stitch marker right there. And there is the bottom of this side. Okay, so currently looking at this, I already like the length of the shorts. I know it's really small, but I do like it. But because I did this one longer, I'm just going to show you that on camera because I don't want you to get confused by the end part. So if you want to continue to leave it at this thickness, it's fine. Just continue doing your half double crochets and making it longer. If you want to decrease so it can curve in, I will show you that right now. So I'm not going to start off with the decrease. I'm actually going to do a half double crochet all the way till this corner, and once I reach this corner I'll decrease, just as I mentioned earlier when we were decreasing right here. So with this it's going to be similar. You want to chain 1 and then do your half double crochets. I just reached the corner of this leg, so now I'm going to decrease. A decrease is yarning over and going into the stitch. I have my 3 loops. I want to yarn over again and go into my next stitch. Now I have my 5, so I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 5. And then I'm just going to single crochet, what am I doing? My half double crochets all the way until I reach this part, and then I'll show you the decrease again. Okay, so once you reach your stitch marker, you want to have 2 stitches left, and then you'll do another decrease. Okay, so after you do your decrease, you can remove your stitch marker. And then you want to slip stitch, and once again you don't slip stitch into where your stitch marker was, and then you go into the second stitch. So this was where your stitch marker was, you don't go into that one, your second one. And there is the leg. So I want to stop right here. If you want to continue going down, feel free to go ahead. It's not completely the same length, but you can go ahead and do the similar decreasing to pull it in a little bit more if you like. So I actually went ahead and did one last row of decreasing because I did actually want it to curve in a little bit, but I didn't show that on camera because it's literally the same thing as the previous clip I showed you. But what I suggest is you don't have to use a stitch marker because I think that might confuse you. What you need to more focus on is just you want to decrease on each corner sides. So in case yours isn't turning out perfect, just make sure you decrease on the corner sides and you should be fine. So now that you finish this leg, you're just going to do the same thing on the other side. To begin the other leg, we want to attach some yarn, and I'm going to attach it to the front piece right here, so where there's an open space. And it's basically how we attached it earlier. So I'm just going to tie that, and then I'm going to start doing my half double crochets. So where I tied it, I'm inserting my hook, pulling through, and then I'm going to yarn one time. And then I'm going to do my normal half double crochets and follow the same exact pattern as I did to the other leg. So as I'm crocheting, I'm also going to be working in this excess yarn, so I just crochet right over it, and that way it secures it. So I'm going to do, oops, got a little straggler, but I'm going to finish this side of the leg off camera because it's the same exact thing. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this and then show you my final results. Here is the completed romper, and I just love the way it turned out. I did this little belt off camera. All you need to do is do a chain of however many you need to cover your waist area, and then you just weave it through the sides and then tie it up, and that's how it looks. So I just wanted to also compare it to my original. And as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, this one does have a curve, and I already explained that, but I just love it. Oh my gosh. Don't you guys ever just make a project and when you're done, you're like, wow, I did that. Anyways, I hope you guys like this tutorial.